Not sure if you're ready to jump into EV charging? Let's see what we can find out. Welcome back to another episode of EV Charging Minute, your place to find ideas, tips, knowledge, uh, best practices for commercial EV charging for everything from hotels to apartment complexes and retail locations. We do this every Friday to try to get a little knowledge out there, help people understand what I do. I'm Tony Booth, the founder and the host of this podcast and the founder of Stay in Charge. So I try to get all the information, the questions that people ask us and the things that we go through and use that for content so I can help share information with everybody out here so you can better understand the impact and value and how to go about adding EV charging at your commercial property. So today we're talking about, are you ready? And more importantly, we're talking about easing into it. Okay. So we run into this all the time. People that we talk to, people that we reach out to, people that see us at different events or even call in to our office, and they'll ask questions like, are you, is this the right time for me? Should I be putting these chargers in? That they're just not sure yet. And we understand that, right? Like, we get it. It's hard to know the timing. It's hard to know the value. Are you going to get a return on investment? Because we all know that, or at least anybody that's looked into EV charging, you do realize that, that these can be an investment, right? There is an investment to be made. Now, the bright side, if you go back a couple episodes, I talked about, do these things make money? And yes, they do. So that's the bright side, is they will make money. But even like I tell most of our customers and train our staff on, is some places aren't ready yet. And so we look at pretty much every commercial property from a state of mind that it's not if you need them, it's more when you need them. Because eventually, if things continue on the path that they're on today, there'll be a time in the future that almost every commercial property is going to need some level of EV charging available, or you're going to miss out, right? One of the big analogies I always use is kind of Wi-Fi. Back in the day, you think about it, hotels didn't have Wi-Fi. Cafes, restaurants, nobody really had Wi-Fi, right? Started coming out. People were like, oh, is that really important? And nowadays, like, almost everywhere you go, you'll see the sign for the free Wi-Fi, or you just open up and like, oh, there it is, right? So it's similar with EV charging. It's going to get in that same scenario someday, that everybody is going to have some level of EV charging out there. But depending on your property, today it might be a pure waste of money. Okay. And I'm telling you that from the right frame of mind, right? Like the right side. We don't want to sell you charging today if it's not going to value your property. It's not going to make value back to your company, because then you're not going to want to deal with us later on. So we recognize the importance of the timing of the market and making sure that you're getting in at the right time. There are several factors that go into that as well that you need to pay attention to. Okay. But first and foremost, when you're looking at whether or not you need EV charging, when we are working with a customer, we try to determine what the demand is going to be at that property. Okay. And that comes down to, if it's a hotel, who's staying there, right? Who's coming to spend the night with you? And if those are people that are driving electric vehicles, then by all means, you should have EV chargers installed by now. If you're, more of an extended stay, and most of your people, I years ago did a lot of traveling in construction, and most of the guys are driving trucks, and until there's more Ford Lightnings on the road, you probably aren't missing out on too many long-term charges, long-term stays with people with not having EV chargers. But don't think that, depending on where you're at, that could be creeping up on you really fast. We have some properties on the West Coast that are long-term stay, extended stay properties, and they're doing fantastic with EV chargers. So it really comes down to knowing your property and what's the demand there. Uh, Apartment complexes are going to run into the same thing. You look at your residents and the type of residents that are there, the type of property you own that you have, and you can see as the EVs become more abundant out there, you're going to need to add charging at some point. So that's where it starts, right? You want to look at that. That's the number one thing to look at, is what kind of demand do you think you'll have? The other thing to look at is whether it's time to jump in or not now, is what kind of incentives are available. Okay. Because here's one thing that's really important that I think a lot of people miss out on, and that's these early adopter incentives that are out there. We just helped the property install 6 chargers. We were able to cover their chargers for the installation of the chargers themselves, the software, for like 4 years. And that cost them like $1,200 out of pocket. So now they have 6 chargers in their parking lot, and it cost them next to nothing for 4 years. So did they need 6? I would say no, they didn't need 6. Okay. It was a property that probably could definitely have used 2. They would have been fine with 2. But the grant program that we got them engaged with required that they put in 6. So what happened was, for probably a tenth of what it would cost them to install 2, they got 6, and they're covered for 4 years. So by 4 years from now, they'll probably will need maybe 4 or 5 or 6 chargers. So they're already built out for the demand, and it really cost them less than if they were to put 2 in today. So some places, if you have those great incentives and those great rebates, even if you're not going to get a huge demand for your charging today, it's worth it to get ahead, get those things installed and get them out there, because you have this opportunity to get so much value back from those incentives. So that's the second reason why you might get ahead of demand. Okay. The big key here, as I said, is easing into EV charging, is making sure you're keeping up and getting slightly ahead of demand, and then paying attention to incentives, because you might want to go a little further and get started sooner. The other thing I want to caution everybody on is be careful what the market says. Okay, I see this out there, and I see people that are in this industry that are out there selling EV chargers, whether they're the charger company, the software company, the electrician, and they all want to talk about how much money you're going to make with these things. Well, as I said, listen back a few episodes, I kind of broke that down in a little bit more detail for everybody. Don't let somebody talk you into way more solution than you need. Are they really concerned about your long-term plan? Okay. Or are they just trying to sell a charger? Because we know what's going on. We have the data. They probably won't share it with you to tell you that, oh yeah, the place down the street put in 6 chargers and there's being 1 a day being used. Okay. Well, what did I need 6 for? I'm only getting 1 a day being used. So make sure you're paying attention to that and be careful what the market tells you. Yes, there is value in putting more than 1 in. We always recommend more than 1, unless it's a real small property or a specific reason. There is value with more than 1 for sure. There's value for doing some things one time, like if you're digging up the parking lot, do it one time. But I don't have to dig up the parking lot. Like I can put oversized conduit in that I can use later to add more chargers. Just because I needed to cross the parking lot to put 2 chargers in, and that was going to cost me so much money, and put 3 more in because you're doing all this cost across no, I don't need to. I can put conduit in. Yes, that costs a little bit extra, but it's not a whole nother set of chargers out there. So make sure you're being careful with who's leading you down the path of EV charging, so that you make sure you're going the right direction and getting the right solution for you. Because we don't want, like that happened early on in the industry, and that's frustrated me forever. Early on in the industry, people started throwing level 2 EV chargers in all these crazy places. And then guess what? Nobody was using them. Nobody was taking care of them. So they were all damaged and just eyesores. So don't let that happen. Don't let that, be smart about how you pay attention to this. Yes, when you put EV charging in, it will draw people into your property. But just because I put in 10 chargers doesn't mean I'm going to draw 10 people every day. Right. So that's why you want to be careful. I may not get 10 tenants to sign up next month to rent my apartments because I put 10 chargers in. I may get one. I may get two. I don't know until you start. And I don't know until you evaluate your market. So what we try to tell everybody, every single person we work with, is start small and grow from there. Okay. Start small and grow from there. Understand what your demand is. We have properties where we've put in 12 chargers on day one because it was a big community. Okay. We had properties that we had hotel properties that put in 6 or 8 chargers day one because we knew the demand was there. And then we have pretty big properties that we've put 2 in and they're still doing great. So it's important to start small. And you can do that as little as 1 charger, right? Start small and grow from there. But as I mentioned earlier, the one thing I do recommend when you start small is to plan ahead a little bit. If you're putting in a pedestal and a charger at the edge of your parking lot and your electrician's going to run some conduit from the building out to the charger, well, have him run a larger conduit or a second conduit and put a box outside somewhere so that you already have that way to get back into the building. So you already have that path that you had to dig up. So all you have to do when you need more charging is pop the charging in and pull some new wire. So we want to plan ahead and do a little future proofing, but we don't need to put chargers in to future proof, right? Right. So our philosophy has always been, and we recommend you do the same, is start small and let them start to pay for themselves. Okay. Once you put these things in, once you get some chargers in your parking lot, you get them out, you get them promoted, you start seeing the value coming in. Okay. You'll start seeing, oh, I'm booking 4 or 5 extra rooms. Oh, I'm able to raise my rents a little bit. I've got tenants coming here because we have EV charging. Okay. Those things start to matter. And then you'll say, oh, now I don't mind investing a little bit more money to put 3 more chargers in or 4 more chargers in. Okay. But start small, let them pay for themselves. And then you'll get a good feel of how they're working, right? And another reason why I recommend that you start this way as well is because there are many different people out joining this market. There are many different solutions out there, different companies trying to sell you EV charging. Well, how do you know who's the right one? Okay. How do you know? You don't know for sure. We can all tell you what we do great. You can call around, and that's what I recommend. There's a whole thing I'll get into on another podcast on Buyer's Guide. But if you start small, at least you know, hey, if I ended up making a bad decision by, going with the wrong company or putting in the wrong charger, whatever the case may be, you made a mistake. At least you didn't spend a whole lot of money making that mistake, right? It's something that's a little easier to deal with. So if you start small, put a charger in, put 2 chargers in, it lets you start to get the feel of how they're working, see what it's doing for your property and what kind of benefits you're getting back from them. So then you can grow from there. This is what we recommend to everybody. If you talk to one of our people, we're going to recommend 2 chargers typically, but we also do, we have a whole program we started. We went and just to tell you how important this easing into it is to us, we had a charger put together. We've put together a whole little system that we call our incubator or our startup program. And it's a very easy to install. It's not a huge charger. It's not designed to be one that's going to last for 20 years being used every single day. It's one that's designed to be outside. It's designed to last for many years, but it's not designed for that constant usage. So we could create an economic solution to allow a property to put a charger in, really inexpensive. We set it up so that there's RFID controls that allow you to keep from unauthorized people from using it. And that allows our properties, we've got, we had properties that can put those things in for under 15, under $2,000, even with the electrical work, right? So that's a nice, easy way to ease into EV charging. We had a lot of smaller hotels and bed and breakfasts early on that we worked with that way, got them a charger in, got them on the map, right? Because that's the thing, now they're on the map. People start to see them, start planning their trips, say, oh, or looking for, place to stay. They find them and say, oh, I'm going there. So you don't have to jump in, you don't have to put this big row of chargers in when you decide to do this. You can start small and build from there and just work your way up as the demand grows along with you. So that's it for today. I hope you learned a little bit about EV charging. Hopefully I eased a little of the pain and the anxiety of jumping in, because listen, give our team a call, or give anybody out there that you've talked to that's offering to do EV charging for you, and say, hey, look, what's it going to take? Get me one in here. Get me two in here. Let's see what's going on, see what it does, and then we can grow from there. So that's all. I hope you learned a little bit about EV charging today, and we'll see you next Friday.